I will find you. You will ask, what will you do when they find me? Don't be scared of yourself.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ashley.
We would like to welcome you to the Work It, You Are Worth It podcast.
We're two friends sit around and talk about healing, growth, and healthy relationships.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Dawn, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
It has been, 2 weeks since we've talked now, hasn't it?
I think it's been longer than that, it feels like, but I don't know. It's been a minute.
Mother's Day weekend, and then...
Yeah, we had Mother's Day weekend. That was, took my mom with some friends for lunch, and it was great. It was amazing. Everybody loved my mother. She's so sweet. Oh, she's so wonderful. And I love my mom too, but trauma baggage, I love my mom too.
I hear ya.
So that's always interesting and so I've seen my girlfriends a few times since then, and every time it's like, your mom was just so wonderful. She was just so cute. Da, da, da. And I'm like,
Enough already.
Yes, she's wonderful and cute to everybody else. She's not wonderful and cute to me.
Always, not always.
But I love her, so.
Right, like not always wonderful and cute, but I love her. So, but I get it though, right? Because I'll go out with my mom and people will meet her and they will just be like, oh, your mom's so amazing. And I'm in the back of my head like, yeah, you don't know her like I do.
Right.
She's amazing. Don't get me wrong. She is amazing. You just don't know her like I do. It's just a different kind of amazing.
Right. Right. We get there and they're just all, so of course she puts on her little, her mask, we like to use that term. So she puts on her mask, and so everything's wonderful and sweet. And I got yelled at like 3 times driving to the restaurant.
Gotta love it. It's crazy that you bring up your mom. I spent a week with my mom. We'll get into that. It's going to be a fun podcast.
Okay, let's do this.
So she yelled at you like 3 times on the way to the restaurant,
Yeah.
You were saying?
Yep. One time was because I avoided slamming on my brakes by moving into the other lane because someone cut me off. If you're going to drive like this, then da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, I'm just driving. And then I got yelled at before. If I'm going to not valet the car, then I need to make sure that I'm putting on put in the visor protector, your car protector and your windshield. And I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, but I will. And no, you need to do. I mean, it was like, you need to do that because I cannot get in this car. The heat will I can't breathe then, and I won't be able to. And I'm like, Mom, we're gonna be parking in a parking garage. I hit it. I fucking valeted.
It's just not even worth it. Let me just valet it. That way they can start the car and cool it while they bring it to me.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, I had to pick her up anyways. She couldn't walk to the car because she just can't. So
It would have been just like valeting anyways.
yes, because I had to drive around the block to get in the right position to pick her up, so she didn't have to car. It was, yeah.
So you valeted the car to
Valeted
make
the
Mom
car.
happy.
Yep, valeted the car. Ended up having to walk to her, and it was fine. Then we went into the restaurant. And what was the other thing? There was something else that happened right after the whole getting over in the other lane thing, and I can't remember what that was, but yeah, it was. I'm just like,
So for the
God.
20-minute ride to wherever you were going, she was angry at you and yelling at you and nitpicking your driving. And then
Yes.
as soon as you get there and meet your friends, she's adorable and amazing and cute and sweet.
And when you saying it that way made something pop in my head. My mother was nervous.
There
My
you
mo-
go.
My mother was scared. This was something, she was meeting people that she didn't know. She wasn't comfortable with. So she was, right, great codependent, probably I know she was telling herself all the stories. And there's a couple of things I'm not comfortable saying while we're recording, and I would have no problem telling you later. But yeah, she, Yeah, she was scared. She was nervous. And once she realized that she was with nice people and they were kind, and they brought her this really nice big basket full of stuff for Mother's Day. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
So it's it makes it a little easier to understand why she was nitpicking your driving so bad when you realize that she was anxious and nervous about
yep,
meeting these complete strangers, right?
yeah, yep.
And I'm sure there's some relevance to the story she was telling herself and this situation to maybe where it's even more understandable as to why she was nervous and anxious.
It's really interesting talking about this now because, like I said, I didn't, I was very, even last night I got together with them and they were, talking about how nice she was. And I was just like, I was carrying a little bit of frustration, just like, again, it's like, yes, she's very wonderful, but to me, she's can be my mom and she is my mom. But it's to look at it and actually have this discussion, which I like. That's what I like about talking about things with people in recovery and talking about it with you on this podcast because it allows me to get a different perspective. And I did not consider that she was nervous and that she was scared. And she was trying to navigate her codependency in this situation that she is not accustomed to. Right. I meet new people all the time.
Absolutely, me
nowadays
too.
with Meetup and all of that. And I still get nervous. So she never does this ever. So I need to give her a little bit of grace because she was nervous and she was scared, and that is okay. And it's not okay that she yells at me and takes it out on me.
But it's easy to be understanding. It's easier to be understanding when we realize that somebody is anxious and scared, and that's why they were a bit more escalated than they would normally be.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So, but anyways, yes, we had a great day, and she did really enjoy herself. So, how was and I didn't do anything with the boys either. One's in Texas, one's here, and I don't worry about that now. Right now, I'm trying to still enjoy Mother's Day with my mother, but.
Right. No, I hear you. So mine was good. My Mother's Day was pretty good. The good things were, of course, my oldest daughter came over, and her boyfriend, and they brought the baby, and my granddaughter's 5 months old now. She's amazing. I love her so much. Any day is an amazing day when I get to hang out with her. Like, it just makes my whole day. I don't even understand how it works, but I could be having the crappiest, and actually that's what happened on Mother's Day. It was a really crappy morning. I have an aunt, my great aunt, actually, that I was very, very close to when I was a young child. And she passed away this past week. And on Mother's Day, I had called my mom to tell her Happy Mother's Day. First thing in the morning, I called her and I was, oh, Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And she starts telling me how my brother's angry at her and she wants to gossip about my brother. And I'm like, well, why is he mad at you? What happened? And she says that he was frustrated because my aunt was dying and she's only 10 minutes away and hadn't gone to see her. And I was like, well, I mean, she's 90 years old. We expect her to pass away soon. What do you mean she's dying? And she says, no, the doctors told us 2.5 weeks ago that she had about 2 to 3 weeks left to live, and if anybody wanted to say goodbye, they should come up and say their goodbyes. I immediately got angry.
Okay.
I said, what do you mean? They told you 2.5 weeks ago that she has 2 to 3 weeks left to live, and you didn't tell me anything. And she says she forgot. She forgot. I don't have any words for how she forgot or why she forgot. And when she said that, I got so angry and so frustrated that I just said, I have to get off the phone. I can't talk to you anymore right now. I will try to call you later. I'm very upset. I have to go. And I hung up. What is missing here is that when I was a child, my mother was extremely abusive, physically, verbally, emotionally. I felt very alone as a kid. I felt like nobody loved me, and I felt like I didn't matter to anybody except my uncle and his wife and my Aunt Joyce. And my grandma. She was amazing. But as far as, right, so my Aunt Joyce was this person who, she just loved me no matter what. I never needed to do anything different. I never needed to change. She used to tell me all the time that she was my best friend. Aww. I am your best friend. I love you unconditionally, forever and always. And it didn't matter, right? I went weeks, years, days. Sometimes it didn't matter how long we went without talking. I would call and she would answer. I would write and she would write back. I would say, hey, let's go to the zoo. And she would say, I'll meet you there. She was a really good person. And she was the one person when I was really little that made me feel loved. And Mother's Day weekend would have been the perfect weekend for me to take off of work and go up to New York and see her had I been given the opportunity. And if I wanted to spend Mother's Day weekend in New York seeing my aunt, why the hell did I need someone to call me and tell me she was dying to do it? I should have just done it. But I didn't think about it. There's so many things. So anyways, that was on Mother's Day. And then I hung up with my mom.
Can we go back to so there are many things? Because I feel like there's something, I don't know, there's something in there that I want you to, I think you need to say.
What do you mean? Remind me what I said.
You were saying, you could have went, if you would have known, you would have went up with her on Mother's Day. Why, but then you think, why didn't I go up there?
Why didn't I call? Why didn't I go up there? Why didn't I write? Why weren't we involved more? Why, right?
Because I hear some guilt.
Oh, there's a lot of guilt. There's not so much guilt anymore. I've worked through a lot of it. When I take myself back to the day she passed away. So I found out on Mother's Day that she was actively dying. And then on Wednesday, she passed away. So when I found that out, I had planned to go up that weekend. I was going up there because I wanted to see her. Unfortunately, she didn't make it long enough. So with that does come a lot of guilt. I think I made a post on Facebook. I didn't call enough. I did not tell her how important she was to me. I don't know for certain that when she died, she knew how much I loved her. I know that she knew she was important to me. I know that she knew I loved her. But I don't know if I ever really told her just how much of an impact she made on my life. I actually wrote something for her. I ended up reading it at her funeral, and we were talking before the podcast. I was going to read it to you, and you said, let's save it for the podcast so it could be natural. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and read it. It kind of my view of who she was. Okay. And what she meant to me. And I think this helps too, because I'm going to tell the whole entire world, or at least however many people listen to our podcast, exactly what she meant to me. And hopefully she'll hear it too. Okay. So it says, I guess I'll start by saying goodbye. Goodbye to the kindest woman I have ever known. Aunt Joyce never said a bad word about anyone to me. She always listened to me complain about people, and she would always try to find a way to reassure me without saying anything negative about whoever I was talking about. It didn't matter if it was the scary guy walking home from the bus stop on Avenue C. I swear that woman knew everyone. Or if it was my mom who upset me that day. She never talked bad about anyone. Goodbye to the woman who was always ready to listen. Unless, of course, the baseball game was on. That was the only time she half listened. Aunt Joyce always gave me her undivided attention, like I was the only person in the room when she spoke to me. I will miss the willingness to just remind me that no matter what anyone else ever said, she was my best friend. She loved me just the way I was. She told me that all the time. She never wanted me to be anything or anyone other than exactly where I was when I was there. It didn't matter if I went 3 weeks, 3 days, or 3 years without calling. She was always ready to answer and listen. Aunt Joyce never expected anything from anyone, and she was always willing to give whatever she could. The only thing she ever asked of me was that I not forget her. I will never forget her. I will never forget the huge role she played in making me who I am today. Aunt Joyce taught me what true, authentic, unconditional love really is, and I can never forget that. Goodbye, Aunt Joyce. You will be with me forever.
That was really amazing.
Thank you. That was her. At least that was the her that I knew, right? The woman was 90 years old. She had many, many sides to her for many different years. And she was amazing. She, I just don't think she realized how amazing she truly was, or at least how amazing I believe she truly was.
And I think that's something that I know I have fallen short of in expressing to people that have made a difference, a positive difference in my life. The gratitude that I would have for those individuals, right? We'll say thank you. We'll say, we know that we love them. We know how much we appreciate them. We know, but do we take the time to honor that person
I don't think we do.
I don't either.
I think that if I had to guess, there's probably millions of people in this world who have absolutely no idea just how important they are to someone.
Yeah.
Like that woman, she just didn't. She didn't feel very loved. She was very alone. She was never married. She didn't have any kids. There were only 12 of us at her funeral. And the love that the people that were there had for her was so palpable. And she was such a good person. Like, she had so much influence in our lives in so many generations. Especially considering, right, she never had any children. We were all nieces and nephews and cousins, and how hard it is to let those people in our lives slip away and not realize how much they mean to us. I have another aunt. Heck, my dad has 6 siblings, and I can think of each one of them and something amazing that they have brought to my life, right? My mom has 2 siblings, and my stepfather has 2 siblings, one of which I've never even met in person, but I can still think of things that they have added to my life that are huge impacts. Even though I never met him in person. It's kind of crazy how interlinked that stuff is, even without physical connection. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then the ones that right? Like I can think of my Aunt Barbie. Anybody that knows me knows my Aunt Barbie if they listen, right? If they're family. Anyways, she has had such a huge influence in my life, like right down to the way I want to be when I'm angry or frustrated or when I'm between a rock and a hard place, like the person I try to be when things aren't going my way. She has had such a major influence on that. And I don't know if I've ever told her. I don't know that she knows that I think of her damn near every single day.
We talk, in the steps, I know you earlier you mentioned you kind of did a fourth/fifth step with what you wrote, and then that was what it was meant to be, and then ended up reading it during the funeral.
Yes.
But then we have this next level of, right, we have 8 and 9 where we need to look at how we have wronged other people, and then make amends for that. And
That's this. Yeah.
yeah, and I think sometimes when we talk about amend or talk about how we have wronged people, it's we're I don't we go to the place of what did I do bad to them? What did
Right.
how did I hurt them? How did I and I don't necessarily. I think this should be a broader step 8 should be a broader step where I can write an amends letter and say that I didn't let you know often enough how much you mattered to me.
That's what this was. That's what that letter that I read, that's what this was to me, right? I did wrong her. I wronged her because I didn't let her know, like you just said, how much she mattered to
Yeah.
me. I don't have to say, I'm sorry I didn't call enough. At the same way that I say, right, I don't have to use those words. I can instead say, I appreciate that even though I sometimes went 3 years without calling, you are always ready to answer.
And even though I didn't call, I was always thinking about you. You have always been on my heart. I carry you with me. Right? Can you imagine on your deathbed being told that someone thinks about you frequently and that you change their lives? And I mean, how much more that is in a little nutshell. I would be so satisfied with my life and everything my life was if someone would just says, you changed my life. You mattered to me. I thought about you frequently and I loved you, and I would not be the person I am without you. And you made an impact in my life that is undescribable. I mean,
That's it, isn't
right?
it?
I mean, you think about what in the last 5 minutes of dying, right before you got your last 5 minutes of your life. You're talking, you got only not many breaths left. What are you going to be thinking about? What are you going to be
My life, what I did, what I lived, who I was.
exactly? And to have people come in and just say, right? We cry. Right? When we're losing a family member, we're crying because of something we're gonna lose. We're sad.
I read a thing this week that I loved, and it said, the pain I feel in my heart is not hurt or sadness. It's all the love that I have for you that has nowhere to go.
Oh wow.
I loved that. That was like, because I'm not crying for her.
Right.
She's in a better place. And yeah, I'm going to miss her, but I mean, I'm not really sad that she passed away. I'm sad that I can't show her and tell her how much she meant to me and how much I love. And that's what it is. All that pain I feel and all that grief and all those moments, it was all the love for her that I just couldn't share with her in that moment.
And I think this is why it's so important. Why making an amends and navigating through this stuff is so important, because it's our opportunity to say the things that we have not felt. Because a lot of times, I know for me, right, saying my feelings has been very difficult, because I never trusted myself, so I didn't trust what I was feeling, and there was some connotation that they were going to be my feelings were wrong. And so to share that, how much, to be that vulnerable and tell someone how much they impacted our lives, and how much I think of my grandparents, my dad's parents, right? I would not be who I am today without them. Like, my grandma was my world. And I never told her that. I didn't, I mean, right, she died before recovery, so of course I didn't, it was, right?
Right.
But if I could go back, like, I'd want her to know how much I valued her. And the thing that I have to learn from this is I can't go back to her, but there are people in my life now that I can make up for my lack of unknowing what I didn't know, because right, can't be upset with what I didn't know. But I do know now. And so now it's like, now taking that, what I know, and carrying that to people that are still living, not letting another person die without me
Right.
sharing my thoughts and, my feelings about that person.
That for me is huge, right? And that's what I wanted to say when we were talking about the amends is that's the next step, right? That otherwise it's just I'm sorry.
Right.
If there isn't changed behavior to go along with the words, then that's not an amends. That's just an apology. And it doesn't mean much. The other part of this is I acknowledge that I did not tell Aunt Joyce the way I wanted to, and I did not show her in the way I wanted to how much she means to me. So, yes, I wrote it. Yes, I spoke it. Yes, I've said it. And now how am I going to live it? Well, the way I'm going to live it is by making sure I tell the other people that have made an impact in my life how much of an impact they've made in my life. Right? I call Aunt Barbie, or I write Aunt Barbie a letter, or maybe we go out to coffee and I say, hey, I just want you to know that every time I get frustrated, I think of how I can tell somebody to F off with the prettiest smile in the world on my face. Like, and she doesn't even use the words. She's so amazing the way that she does it. I don't know. I got to learn how to do it. She's amazing. But right, that's part of it is I need to live my truth. And my truth is I felt guilty for not sharing with one aunt how much she meant to me. So I need to make sure I do share with the other people in my life how much they mean to me.
You said, and I think you said it on the podcast, if not, I can take it out, but you mentioned you were frustrated in the beginning when your mom told you, and
oh yes, I was angry,
and didn't get an opportunity to go see your aunt. Like, you could have went on Mother's Week. But are you upset with your mom, or are you upset with yourself?
Oh, both. Okay. Oh, it was very much both, right? I was upset with myself. I was angry at my mom because she took away my final opportunity. But I had many, 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 many opportunities before that. Many.
Right.
So yes, I was angry at my mom, but I was definitely upset with myself as well. I was more frustrated with my mom because you forgot that this woman who, gosh, I remember as a kid, she used to take me and my brother and my mom and my sister. We were always with her. Weekends, there was a blizzard or an ice storm in New York, and we didn't have power for 10 days. And this single woman took this family of 5 into her home for 10 days with no power. Like, how do you forget that her doctors say she's dying and we should go and say goodbye? How do you forget to say goodbye? How do you forget to give someone the opportunity to say goodbye? And I don't want to harp on it because at this point I have worked through it. and I'm not angry anymore. That's just who my mom is. I accept that that is who my mom is. And I have only myself to blame for not going and not seeing my aunt more and not speaking to my aunt more. And right, if I wanted to know and have the doctors tell me if she was getting ready to pass away, then maybe I should have been involved more and they would have been comfortable telling me. Right? I acknowledge that. But yes, in that moment, yeah, I was very frustrated with my mother in that moment. Yes.
But your mom is right. For your mom to forget, I actually can understand it in a way. Right? Your mom is not in a healthy place. Right? Your mom doesn't live a recovery life. She does, right? She's not. So there's very much of a selfish aspect of her life because of she's always in survival mode.
Very, very much so.
And she probably did forget because right, she's just trying to survive in her own self. And I'm not saying it's a like
it's not okay.
No, it's not okay.
It's not okay. And I am over it, and it is forgiven. And it still happened. Right? Like it's done. It's over. I'm not holding any grudges. I'm no longer angry. I literally just spent damn near an entire week with my mom. I went and saw her the day after I got there, and then I took her shopping the next day, and then we had lunch the next day, and then she was at the funeral all day the next day with me, and it was it was interesting to be as in recovery as I am, and to see and hear the ways in which her and I interact. My mother doesn't like me. She loves me very much. Don't get me wrong. I know she loves me. She just doesn't like me very much. Like, right, the things that I say, the way that I say it, there's just something wrong with everything, and everything is an issue, and it's my fault in her mind. And that's okay. I didn't have a bad time. I didn't have a negative time. I just had to pack my patience, and I just had to make sure that I was really, really aware of myself in those moments and how I was acting and reacting and behaving. And it was exhausting.
Needed a break from your trip, huh?
Yes, I needed a vacation from it wasn't really a vacation, but not at all. But yes, I definitely, it was, my sister's amazing. I'm so thankful for my sister, and her son and her fiance. They are amazing. I stayed with my sister while I was there. I usually do. And she's just absolutely spectacular. And my big brother he's special. Not in a bad way, like a really good, he's one of a kind. I adore my brother and my sister. And if I could have them and not have as much interaction with my mom, it would be pretty amazing. But I love my mom too. And there was a lot of good times, and there was a lot of positive. I got to see my uncle and my cousin a lot, and I absolutely adore both of them. So there was a lot of positive, and there was a lot of good. But there was a lot of awareness and a lot of realizing who I am and who I want to be, and how behaving in the moment creates the person we are. Right? Like, I want to be kind. I want to be compassionate. I want to be loving. And if I have nothing nice to say, then I need to just say nothing at all.
Right.
And that's okay. It's not being rude to say nothing. I don't have to be a part of every conversation, right? If my mom and my sister are talking and the things my mom is saying is just rude and I just don't like it and I just want to snap back at it, I can get up and go outside instead.
Right.
I don't have to sit there and listen to it. I don't have to insert myself in that conversation. I don't have to. I just get up and walk away. Right? If I hear my mom and my uncle talking and I don't like the things that are being said, I don't need to keep walking towards that conversation, even if they call my name and wave. I could walk the other way. Right? If Nick says something I don't like, I don't need to snap back and tell him what's right. I can just shut up and not say anything.
I think one of the things I've recently, one of my friends she's very, very, very opinionated. And I'm not going to say that's a bad thing or a good thing, right? It's her. And sometimes she'll say things that I'm just like, I don't agree with, or I'm like, like, let's just let that go. And in the past, like, that would have, like, bothered me. It would have been, I would have tried to, like, correct her or point it out or, right? And now I can let her have her opinion. Her opinion does not faze me. It has nothing to do with me. It's her opinion. If that's the way you feel, then you can feel that way. That doesn't mean I have to feel that way. I have to think that way.
Or I have to agree with
Exactly.
you. I don't have to change your mind either.
Right. And there's a freedom that comes with that, where it's just like, okay, that's what you think that. I don't necessarily think that, but if you do, that's good. That's fine.
Right. Like at one point we went somewhere and my mom was like, "Oh, that is so beautiful." And I went, "Ugh, that thing is disgusting." Okay, be quiet, Ashley. Don't say anything.
Right.
Not a word. She said, "Don't you think it's beautiful?" And I was like, "Mom, if you love it, it's beautiful." And that was all she needed. That was good enough
Right.
for her. I didn't think it was beautiful, but I didn't have to tell her I didn't think it was beautiful. I was just like, if you love it, it's beautiful. If you think it's beautiful, it's beautiful. I don't have to say, no, I don't think it's beautiful. It's gross. It's disgusting. I don't have to say that.
Right? Because beauty is beauty is in the eye.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think allowing others to have their thoughts, feelings, opinions is important, because then that allows me to have my thoughts, opinions, and feelings, and know that, right, I can, just because I share mine, that doesn't mean other people are going to agree with them. That doesn't mean, right, maybe I choose to, not say anything. In this case, I'm going to use the whole thing with the something being beautiful. Like, right, you just were like, well, if you think it's beautiful, then it's beautiful. If you said that to your mom, she might come back and say, Ashley, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Why are you doing that? Just because I handle something in a certain way doesn't mean the other person will handle it the same way.
Absolutely.
Or
should.
Exactly. And it's okay that they don't. Because again, right, all right, they come back with, why do you like that? That's ugly. I don't need to second guess why that I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. That end of story.
Right. And something else that this week showed me too, and along the lines of what we're talking about, is I don't want to convince someone that something's beautiful. Right? And it goes more than that. I don't want to convince someone to love me. So at one point, and let me this is just an example. My nephew is a very young 2. Mm-hmm. He just turned 2 in February, and he was several weeks premature. So he's a very young 2. Super, super intelligent, though. And he's learning that he has control over his body. Oh. So hugs are a thing. Right? He does not want to give hugs unless he chooses to give a hug. And if you try to coerce or force him into giving a hug, he is not okay with that. And my mom is very much a person that wants a hug. She wants a hug, always wants a hug. She will ask you for a hug. If you don't give her a hug, she will get upset. Why didn't you give me a... I witnessed her spend 20 minutes convincing my nephew to hug her.
Wow.
20 minutes until he was finally like, okay, woman, Jesus.
Right.
And he he ran over, squeezed, and ran away. Like, here's your hug, leave me alone. I don't ever want to have to convince someone to love me. I don't want to convince, if I spent 20 minutes convincing you to hug me and you just barely touched me and then you ran away, I would feel so defeated and empty, and I don't want to be that person. I am not going to beg someone to emotionally support me or to love me or to care about my feelings or to check on me.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing that I've done in the past. It was very much getting people to care about me in the way that I needed them to care for me, and then being disappointed when they didn't do it in the way that I wanted it to happen. And
well, I mean, weren't we always raised to believe that we have to teach people how to treat
right?
us?
And so what happens when they don't treat me the way I think they need to treat me? I get disappointed. Where maybe if I never put those expectations on them and I let them treat me how they, like, this is the way they are, this is what I'm going to get. How do you get disappointed?
Right. Just accept, not accept anything, but be willing to see it for what it
Right.
is. It took me years, it's taken me until I'm 40 years old to realize that I spent a long time convincing people to love me the way I needed to be loved, to support me, instead of finding people who just naturally do that. I spent my whole life attempting to convince people to do it the way I need, right? To convince people to do what I needed instead of just finding people who do it naturally. And it means so much more when they do it naturally.
Yes.
When I don't have to say, hey, I'm feeling really low emotionally right now. Can you just check on me and tell me that you love me and give me a hug? If I have to say that and then they're like, oh yeah, let me do that, then I'm in the back of my mind like, oh, they're only doing that because I asked them to.
But what happened, I'm sure you've heard this, telling people, asking for what we need. So why is that different than saying, I'm having a bad day, I really need a hug. Or I'm really tired today and I don't feel like cooking dinner. Can you take care of dinner? Oh.
One is, I feel this way in this moment. I just need a hand right now. The other is convincing someone to love me, convincing someone to emotionally support me. Your partner can't read your mind. If you're having a bad day, you have to speak up and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. Can you make dinner? Or, hey, I'm tired. Can you do the dishes? Right? You have to ask for what you need in that manner. And I shouldn't have to ask someone to call and say, hey, I love you. Are you okay? Does that make sense?
It does.
I feel like I'm not explaining it right. I feel like I could explain it so much better if I had the words. It's like, yes, I have to ask for what I need. And if I'm asking for the bare minimum, how am I ever actually going to get anything more?
Yes. What pops in my head is a new relationship, right? Here I'm in a relationship. I'm not in a relationship, and I'm going into a new relationship, and I have in the past used, whether it was my words, my body, my whatever, to get the person to get to the level that I wanted them to be. I don't want to say needed them to be. It's where I wanted them to be. And I did it by playing games, by, right, expectations, all of those things, that trying to make this person do something that I didn't even know if they had the capacity to do something. And it's worse when we know they don't have the capacity to do something, but we still expect them to do it.
Or willingness.
Yeah.
I don't see capacity. I think that's a cop out to say that people don't have the capacity to do something unless you are talking about someone who is like handicapped.
Well, okay, but what is...
Be it mental illness or be it birth defect or whatever, unless you are talking about someone who is handicapped.
But let me ask you a question. Pre-recovery, there are certain things you can do now that you could not do pre-recovery.
But I had the capability to do it. I was just unaware of how. I just had to learn.
Okay, so the person, I didn't say capable, I said capacity. And capacity wouldn't that be, maybe bad choice of word, but I think the capacity is of knowing there's more, knowing there's another way to do something. And if...
Yeah, I could see, I guess you're right. I can see that.
Right, because you said capability, and I agree with that. Everyone is capable of doing anything, but do they have...
Right, but if you have the capacity, that's a different... You're right. Yeah, I see that.
So I think we put our expectations of what capacity looks like on other people, and we end up always getting let down. Not always, I don't want to use that word, right? We end up getting let down because people, they can't. I couldn't. Some days I still can't. I'm doing my best every day, and I think everyone is doing their best every day. Now, I think there's some leeway, there's some, having patience with people.
Right, I think we need to be, right, just because you don't have the capacity in this moment doesn't mean you won't have the capacity tomorrow.
Right, and just because your patterns have been, I don't have this capacity for the last 20 years, that doesn't mean, right, I was a very good codependent for 48 years of my life. Yes, it got better and it got better and it got better, and I am less of a codependent than I was.
Well, so, right, with that being said, I don't think it matters if they have the capacity to do it or not. I think it matters if they are doing it or not.
Or if they're open to doing it.
Like, I don't even think, right, you can be as open as you want. If you're not actively doing, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Whether, right, and that's not to say we don't make mistakes, right? But like we're talking about something like emotional support, right? Somebody not being as invested in a relationship or a friendship, or I say relationship, I don't mean significant others. I just mean two people who interact with each other regularly. Coworkers can have have relationships.
Yep.
I think that when it comes to something like emotional support, we have to look at where people are and what they are doing. Let me use Marsha, for example. Marsha is my best friend. We have known each other for like 15 years. We have been friends for quite some time. Marsha absolutely has the capacity and the capability to be emotionally supportive. 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, she is my best friend. I know that if I need her and she can do it, she will absolutely be there. And when my aunt passed away this past week, I apologize, Marsha. If you hear this, I haven't told her yet. She has a lot going on. She's working 2 jobs. Her daughter's going through some stuff. Her boyfriend's got some stuff going on. Her other daughter's got some stuff going on. Her ex-husband passed away a little bit ago. Her plate is full. I I may have mentioned it to her, I don't know, but I wouldn't expect her to continuously check in on me every day. And I certainly am not angry at her that she didn't. Just because she didn't right now, in this moment, doesn't mean that that relationship isn't worth having. It just means that in this moment, she was unable to provide the same that she has in the past. And if I look at all of our relationship and I look at all of our history, I see very clearly that she is a positive influence in my life, and she has emotionally supported me many, many times. And this lack of support in this situation is not anything to be bothered or harmed by in any way, shape, or form. Now, if I flip that around and I say, look at someone else, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe this person has proven multiple times over and over that they do not have the capacity, I like that word, capacity, to give me the emotional support that I need in many different situations. And yet they didn't give it again this time. Well, that could be enough for me to look at this relationship and be like, listen, I'm just done with this relationship. I just don't have any more to invest into this relationship. It's the same situation, right? They didn't call. They didn't check on me. Marsha didn't call. Marsha didn't check on me. But it's two very, very different relationships, and they are looked at very differently, and the capacity from the person is very different. And the history is very different. So the response and the reaction is very, very different.
You know, as you're saying this, you know, and it's because I was going to say, challenge you on that when we were talking about Marsha and then comparing two different people. But once you said it, what I really thought of was, when we've talked about this, and I know we've mentioned it on the podcast before, the whole checkbook, the debits and the credits.
Yes,
and I think
absolutely.
What you're saying with Marsha is Marsha has deposited her money, deposited herself into your relationship, your joint account.
Yes.
Over and over and over and over and over and over, and you guys are so in the black.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This little withdrawal didn't. It
didn't even touch the balance. It didn't even touch it.
Not even a blink in the bucket.
But when you have another individual who does not deposit over and over and over and over, and they're just putting, let's call it what it is, like somebody living
minimal, like the bare minimum.
Right, they're living week to week. Like
right, paycheck to paycheck.
Paycheck to paycheck, right? A deposit in a paycheck to paycheck, week to week situation is going to be a major impact on your
a big withdrawal like that, yeah.
Right? I think about, you know, you think about $100. If I have $100,000 in my account and I take out $100, no big deal.
It's nothing. It doesn't mean anything.
I only have $300 in my account, or $1,000. Let's even use $1,000, and I take out $100. Big difference.
It's a big difference. That $100 means nothing to some people. It means a lot to others. Just depends on what you have in your account.
Exactly. And I think that's, you know, evaluating our accounts with our relationships. That's why can be, maybe somebody would have said, well, how come you can let it go with this person but not that person? And it's the reason is because of the deposits. It's what each individual puts into the relationship that you both have with each other.
Right, absolutely. And it's right, how much is in the relationship, how much consistency, how much reliability, loyalty, love, support, how much is there day to day when it's not a huge thing. And then when a huge thing does happen, has there been enough there to cover it?
Right.
And right with Marsha, there has, without a shadow of a doubt. I honestly, I haven't spoken to her in a few weeks, but it's not a bad thing and it's not a negative thing. She is my best friend, and I know that the minute I speak to her again, it'll be like we just talked yesterday,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Like there's nothing negative there in any way, shape, or form. That's not the same with other relationships. And it's not just one, right? If I look at, there's a couple that I can look at and say, losing my aunt this week and going through the motions and the awareness that I had and the mindfulness that I had during this process, it brought a lot of awakenings. It brought a lot of enlightenment of where am I giving energy
Yeah.
to people who aren't even going to bring flowers to my funeral. Right? Like where am I giving my energy? Where am I putting things to people who it's not going to matter to them. They're not going to see it. It's not going to care. And where am I putting my energy to people who do care, where it does matter and they do hear it?
You know, you said earlier there, like 12 people showed up to your aunt's funeral. And, I think that's amazing. I would rather have 12 people at my funeral than 2,000 people at my funeral because the 12 people that showed up hopefully are the 12 people that mattered.
It was palpable. The love that the people that were there had for my aunt was actually palpable in the air. Like you could feel, and she's at peace.
Right.
I have no doubt in my mind, no doubt in my heart, no doubt in my soul. She is 100% at peace. It's the awakenings, it's the enlightenment, it's the reality that you see when you go through, like when I went through this situation and I could see who's there, who's not there, who did I talk to, who did I reach out to, who did I think of? And when I say who's there and who's not there, it's not even a physical presence, right? It's an emotional presence. There were, like Marsha was with me. I didn't even talk to her, but she was with me.
Yeah.
I know she was with me.
Yeah.
My aunt was with me, right? I have another aunt she ended up getting sick and she was unable to come to the services and I was unable to see her. But there's absolutely no hard feelings whatsoever. She was there. I know she was there. She was there in spirit. She was there in heart. She was there. So it's not even about physical presence. It's about an emotional presence. Right. It's about who do I know in my heart is there for me? And am I nurturing those relationships? And am I trying to force other relationships?
Right.
I guess that was my awakening this week.
That's a pretty amazing awakening. And it's, I think it's something that everybody should be aware of, right? I have my entire life put energy into relationships that were not good for me. It was definitely a one-sided deposit.
Right.
And I'm at a place where it's like to find relationships, and where two people are depositing and giving and putting into a relationship really makes it more clear when someone's not, and it makes me I'm finding myself in this place of I'm getting all these deposits from other places, and in the past I would want deposits from a romantic partner. Like that's the only way I could have, like that was the relationship I had to have, and that's the one I would just totally be all in because I thought that's the only one that mattered. But now it's like I'm realizing there are so many other relationships in my life that I missed out on. I cut myself short because
that I neglected because
Yes.
of that emotional partner, that partner relationship, significant other romantic relationship.
Right. It's but it's the story I told about those romantic relationships
Right.
and what they should be.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that's what they should be. That's the story I told.
And what they should be doesn't mean that's what they are.
Right. So it is.
Not even what they should be. It's they may not be what they should be, but it may not even be what they should be. They are like they should. Every relationship should be exactly what it is. We just need to accept it.
Yes.
That's the hardest part, is accepting each relationship for exactly what it is and learning to let go.
Mm-hmm. And when we don't, and when we hang on to one that is not healthy for us, we only end up making ourselves miserable. And it's a choice to be able to let those go so we can live a full, happy life. We don't always want to let people go, but it becomes, what is the best for me? What makes me happy? What's going to make me lighter? What's going to give me hope? What holds me back?
Well, and a lot of it too is like, what holds me back? That's part of it, right? Am I putting my energy into something that puts its energy into me?
Right.
Right? Like, I can't build a stool with two legs. You can't build a relationship. A relationship has you, me, and us.
Right.
I can't have me and us. You can't have you and us. Can't have you and me and no us. That's not a relationship.
Right.
So, like, am I investing into something that is going to give back to me, or am I investing into something that is simply going to take from me? And am I actually investing into the things that I wish I was investing into, or that I think I'm investing into, right? Like, I wasn't investing into my aunt like I wanted to be,
Right.
like I wish I was. I just wasn't even cognizant of it.
And
It's important to be aware of, what am I investing into and what do I want to be investing my energy into?
I think that's, and I'm going to use me. I did in this case, use me in this example, right? I have always been invested in my romantic partner, because that's where I put all my energy, and I let relationships go. I would have let, like, seeing my grandparents as much as I would have liked to, now that I look back. Spending time with my family, spending more time, and I spend a lot of time with my children, and I have a great relationship with my children, but I still would put romantic partners over them at times, over finding good people. And I think if I would have invested as all the energy I put into this other person, this romantic relationship, man, how much time I would have had to, and I wouldn't have felt stretched thin. That's not
Right.
It's not saying that, oh, you can't have this romantic relationship over here. But I think the difference is taking and looking at the individual you bring into your life as a romantic partner. Do they bring me power? Do they bring me encouragement? Do they bring me hope? Do they empower me to be able to, and do they support me and feed me to be able to carry all of these other interactions and relationships? And
Right.
I'm at a place where I don't want someone just to have someone. I want a person that's going to prop me up, that'll come in and be that third leg of that chair.
And I think that's in any, right? We always end up going back to romantic
Yeah.
relationships, but I really think that we need to examine that in every relationship.
Yes.
Friendships, parent, child, aunts, cousins, uncles, friends, everyone.
Yep.
Everyone.
'Cause
Do they bring in as much as I bring in? And if not, am I okay with continuing to do it anyways?
Right. If let's use my children. If my children do not give as much as I give to them.
No, gosh,
right?
no. But I don't expect them to, and I don't want them to.
And so that relationship for me is on solid ground,
Right.
because these are the expectations I have for that relationship. This is what I know in those relationships, and I'm okay with the way it is in those relationships.
And I think it's important to be aware of that. Even if it's, like we said, I'm going to give more to them than they are to me. That's okay. That doesn't mean that the relationship's wrong or bad or needs to change. Right. But it's important to be aware of that and be cognizant of it in my day-to-day routine.
And evaluate it and look at it. And as long as you or I am okay with the balance that's in that relationship, then it's good. It's when we become not okay with it is when you really have to look at it. And what is this giving me?
I think that's a great place to leave the thought. Great thought to leave on, to end on. I said that all messed up, but you know what I meant.
I did. All right. Well, thank you, Ashley, for today. It's been great reconnecting and doing this. And yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Dawn. And thanks, listeners. And I hope everybody took something out of all of our ramblings today.
All right. Everybody have a great week.
Bye.
We would like to thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery. Visit the Work It website at workitYouAreWorthIt.com to submit your questions and topics for future episodes. And remember, work it because you are worth it.